This was the Washington Post, December 4th, 2007, saying in an in-depth study prepared by the nation's 16 intelligence agencies, stated Iran was many years away from obtaining a nuclear weapon, if then. But we see Bush, McCain, Obama rattling the sabers of war with a country that hasn't attacked another country in many decades. Israel is flying practice missions to attack Iran. The Bush administration misled us into Iraq. According to this Washington Post article, they're ready to do it again. Listeners, I'd like to hear from you what you have to say. Are we conquering the Middle East to fight terrorists, or is it for the oil? After conquering two oil-rich countries, Bush has took oil from $28 a barrel to $144 a barrel. I don't think we can afford to conquer too many more countries at this rate of increase. The big missile firing by Iran's military was more of a display of their military incapability rather than their might. Russia had several thousand nuclear-tipped missiles aimed at the United States, and the government dealt with that. But now, if Iran was to try to have just one, we must attack unprovoked. Our Congress doesn't declare war. We just start the wholesale destruction of another sovereign nation. I say no. They lied to us before. This time, let's err on the side of caution. This week's call to action is to write all of our congressmen and senators and state that we do not support more unprovoked, unjustified wars. You know, we've commented several times on the anthrax case that happened just shortly after 9/11. Something happened in the past week on that, and I'd like to update it. The Justice Department agreed June 27th to pay biological weapons expert Stephen J. Hatfield a settlement valued at $5.85 million to drop a lawsuit he filed after then-attorney John Ashcroft named him a person of interest in the investigation of the deadly 2001 anthrax attacks. The agreement, in which the government did not admit any wrongdoing, ended a 5-year legal saga. It came after months of mediation in a case that pitted investigators and major new organizations against the scientist who said his privacy rights had been violated in a race to solve the notorious crimes. Hatfield, who once worked at the Army's Elite Biological Warfare Research Center at Fort Detrick, Maryland, has always maintained that he played no role in the mailing of the lethal powder to lawmakers and media figures weeks after September 11th attacks. He said the information law enforcement agents supplied to the media cost him his job and any chance of employment. I don't think anyone would believe the Department of Justice would pay this kind of money unless they felt there was significant exposure at trial. A defense lawyer who represented nuclear scientists said this past week, the anthrax mailings killed 5 people, including 2 postal workers at the Brentwood Road facility in the district, and sickened 17 others, spreading fear on Capitol Hill and across the country. In 2002 news conference, Ashcroft named Hatfield a person of interest in the wide federal investigation. Hatfield's home was searched, he was followed, his conversations were wiretapped, he lost his job as an instructor at State University, and he said his reputation was tarnished. Again, let's discuss the anthrax attacks. Killed 5 people, but the media is so silent on the story. No one has been brought to justice, and now the government, with your tax dollars, or the ones they print out of thin air, is paying this scientist over $5 million for wrongly accusing him. I demand answers. Are we to believe that coincidentally, after Islamic extremists attacked us on 9/11, supposedly, that then Fort Detrick, Maryland, sent out weapons-grade anthrax? There just has to be a little more to the story. The government's complete silence and non-investigation and the silence of our controlled lapdog media speaks volumes, and I vow to keep reporting on this story that remains silent in our lamestream press. This past week, Obama said Americans should be forced to learn Spanish. Our next president, yes, I'm prognosticating that he has already been selected, is saying we should be students and assume Spanish as our second or maybe first language. And I quote, "Say it's about time America accept the facts and are made to learn a foreign language. Compulsory. The rest of the world does it, and I refuse to believe that America is simply that stupid. English is the language of the land. Actually never was. Cherokee, Sioux were the language of the land, and at one point it was Spanish in these areas of California. What are we going to replace San Francisco with? St. Francis? San Jose with St. Joseph? How rid of Spanish do you people intend to make America? You think words like Texas, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico are English origin? Words like buckaroo? How about this? This is America, and we speak English. And we don't bow or change or submit or comply if you want to come here. If your people are too incompetent to assemble a working economy and you migrate here to partake of our works and endeavors that we have worked for over several generations, then by grannies, we don't learn a new language, Barack Hussein Obama. You learn ours. We don't give up 1 inch of our sovereignty to anyone ever. This is incrementalism, decimating our sovereignty a little at a time. Not now and not ever. And I quote again, I don't agree with NAFTA, but I do agree that Spanish wouldn't be a bad thing for our nation to have to learn. Whether we ever become one with Mexico and or Canada, Mexico will always be there and there will always be a Spanish-speaking majority. If we become one with Mexico, did you hear that? He actually said if we become one with Mexico, then and or Canada, a North American Union, destruction of American sovereignty. This is extremely dangerous talk coming from probably our next president. If you love liberty, I call this for what it is, unacceptable to me and anyone that stands for freedom and the future of our children. I say let's light the fires of liberty and long live the free republic. We had several emails this week on our guest last week, and I just wanted to read one. It was from William. And he said, I really enjoyed the show this week. I think the lady's information on autism was very interesting. I would like to ask you your opinion. Do you think this is a man-made condition? William, sadly, I think there's quite a bit of evidence to substantiate that it is, and I would have grave concerns nowadays giving my child these shots. So to answer your question plainly, yes, I do. Next week, our guest is going to be Gretel Monroe with International Coalition to Ban Uranium Weapons. She was supposed to be our guest some while back. We ended up having to tape it. She will be with us next week, and we'll be able to discuss depleted uranium, something we were supposed to do several weeks ago for a listener, and just the way things happened, we weren't able to do it. But that will be coming up soon. Again, I want to remind everyone our website's therealnewsradio.com. You can email us at onair@therealnewsradio.com. We will be attending the cruise in at WDSL Studios. Take I-40 to the Tanglewood exit, take a right, and it'll be 1 mile on the rights from 1 to 7. Bring your cars. And our quote of the week this week, and I have two for you today. The beauty of the Second Amendment is that it will not be needed until they try to take it away. That's Thomas Jefferson. And if they ever try to take our guns, let's give them the billets first. That's Farron Schoaf. And until next week, this is Farron on The Real News saying, God help us all.